Today on DC News Now, winter weather preps underway. How road crews across the DMV are gearing up for another round of snow. And grimy conditions.
Making sure that I do what is right for my car.
Ways to keep your car safe from dried salt brine. Plus, a winter weather advisory is now in place, and how much snow can we expect to see across the region? Then remembering a teaching icon.
Those close to our hearts never truly leave us.
How his students reflect on his legacy.
Helping people in the community get connected to the information they need.
And later, how a local library is going beyond just offering books.
You're watching the station covering all of the DMV. This is DC News Now.
Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us for the news at noon. I'm Mark Hall. We start with breaking news this afternoon. One person has been injured after a gas explosion had caused a building to collapse. It happened on the 1200 block of Marionberry Avenue Southeast. That's where we find our Randy Bass. He joins us live. Randy, what can you tell us?
Yeah, Mark, we got here just a few minutes after this all happened. Crews still very hard at work right now, trying to put out those flames here along Marionberry Avenue. You see those flames shooting out from the site of that explosion. The gas still turned on to this building. Washington gas crews say they are still working to turn the gas off to this building completely. Dozens and dozens of firefighters, police officers, EMS crews here right now. What we can tell you at this point, one person is injured, very minor injuries. People who saw this all happen, witnesses say it's a miracle that nobody was really seriously hurt in this explosion. That first explosion happened in a two-story building here along Marionberry Avenue in the heart of Anacostia. Not long after that, another explosion at a convenience store nearby. We talked to a witness just moments after it all happened. He said he's never seen or heard anything like this before. Take a listen.
As I was coming down the street, all I heard was this big boom, and people started running the opposite direction. So I started going the opposite direction, then I said, no, I'm gonna see what's going on. And as I got closer, it was like the building just flattened. And then everybody started coming, police tell you, get out of the way, move please. Big ball of black smoke.
Wow. Did you feel anything? Did it rock you?
Yeah, of course. It was like, you know, you remember the earthquake we had? Yeah. It was like that little tremor, but it was the loud boom. You could feel it vibrate through you.
Yeah, comparing this large explosion to an earthquake. That's how Anthony Wigglesworth says this all felt. The good news is most people who were here along this block were evacuated from these buildings well before this all happened. Crews were here on the scene when that explosion happened. They were aware of a gas leak, and that's when, after the evacuations happened, that's when that explosion actually happened here. As for other businesses nearby, there is a daycare center very close to where this all happened. 16 children were evacuated and reunited with their families. They're all okay, maybe just a little bit shaken up, but again, still in very early stages here after this all happened just a few hours ago this morning. Still, again, very early stages. Those flames still raging behind us at this point. We'll bring you more details as we get them. For now, though, live in Anacostia, I'm Randy Bass, DC News Now.
Randy, thank you. We're going to hear more from Randy coming up at 12:30. And developing at noon, police are on scene of an armed robbery at a 7-Eleven on the 9500 block of Blake Lane in Oakton. The suspect showed a handgun and took an unknown amount of money. There were no injuries. The suspect left in a silver Honda Civic with red rims and a loud exhaust. Police are asking people to avoid the area. They do not believe this robbery is connected to a string of robberies in the DMV. All right, let's head over now to meteorologist Damon Matson with the check on the forecast. And Damon, it's still cold outside. No DMV first warn day today, but tomorrow it will be, right?
Right, the snowfall. We're talking about that now moving in as we move toward the end of the week. Our second round of snow this week after a couple of years without it here in parts of the DMV. But first and foremost, folks, it is still cold out there, like Mark said, no question. But we have broken away for a brief time from that deep freeze that we had been dealing with here for the last few days. Temperatures have finally climbed back to the freezing mark in D.C., well above freezing freezing in the upper 30s in Waldorf, Lexington Park. We still have a few 20s as you go back to the north and west, but as a whole, these temperatures, they're improving and finally warming up just a little bit as we move into the rest of this Thursday afternoon. Now, we will be limited as to how much those temperatures go up because we have a lot of clouds already across the DMV, and that is the leading edge of this approaching storm system, creating all of this cloud cover that we will continue to see through the rest of the day today. But notice there will not be any precipitation just yet. We are going to hold off on that light snowfall until we get into the night tonight and then primarily into the day tomorrow, especially on your Friday morning. And here we go. Yes, we have winter weather advisories covering the northern 2/3 of the DMV here, including the DC Metro, starting as we go into tomorrow morning and then lasting straight through the day tomorrow as well, for that threat of that light snow that is likely to fall and accumulate out there, making conditions rather slick, especially during that early morning commute tomorrow. And out across the mountains here in the pink, that is a winter storm warning, as we are expecting sustained snowfall along some of those higher ridge tops. So yes, we are gearing up for this next batch of messy weather. We'll time out when the worst of this snowfall is likely to move its way through, and we're talking about a second blast of Arctic air rolling in by this weekend. We'll have all those details coming up in your full forecast here in just a bit.
All right, Damon, thank you. That next round of winter weather is headed our way. Many areas just getting cleaned up from the storm earlier this week. DC News Now's Lex Juarez takes a look at as snow preparations are underway once again.
Roadways are back to normal in the DMV and just in time for another winter snow to come through this weekend. You can see right here we're on 295, and this is what it's looking like across the region. We do know the main roads like this were not too much of an issue for people, and our regional snow teams have been doing a great job keeping things safe for drivers. VDOT says that they are already focusing on the next storm, making their plans to get out on the roadways ahead of the snowfall, and MDOT is doing the same. You can expect to see them out on the roadway as we approach the weekend. So they are going to be starting to pre-treat those roads and be prepared to pick up any snow once it falls. In the district, it's going to be the same story, and the snow team has been salting and brining the streets all week to keep from any ice accumulation on the roads. That's been their main concern since the snowfall on Monday. Now as we approach the weekend, it's going to be important if you are out on the roadways, make sure if you see those transportation agencies, the plows, salt and brine trucks, that you're getting out of their way and giving them the space they need to pre-treat the roads and to clean up after that snow starts to fall. You can expect to see them out working across the region all weekend long. For now, in Northern Virginia, I'm Lex Juarez, DC News Now.
All right, Lex, thank you. Freezing temperatures causing headaches for neighborhoods as they deal with icy sidewalks. Well, according to DC City Code, property owners are responsible for clearing their sidewalks within 8 hours of the end of the storm, and officials say you could be fined if you fail to do so.
I didn't know that was a fine. A lot of ice, a lot of salt.
I mean, it's not the best to be walking up and down. I've seen a couple people actually running up and down the sidewalk, and I think they're crazy for that. I almost slipped and fall once on the way back from work.
They are shoveling exemptions for people 65 and older. Well, a stretch of the GW Memorial Parkway is now back open. Icy conditions closed the section of Spout Run and the Beltway earlier this week. The National Park Service says because of the wintry conditions, both sides of the construction corridor will only have single lanes until further notice. Well, developing now, D.C. police are investigating a shooting in the Petworth neighborhood. They say a man was shot in the arm on Upshur Street. It happened yesterday afternoon around 1:15. This shooting has one woman questioning if she should take measures to protect herself.
Because I'm thinking about getting me a gun. I'm really thinking about getting me a gun. Because this is crazy. I'm afraid. I'm afraid to walk these streets. I've been living around here for 25 years. And I've never been this afraid.
And take a look at this vehicle. It's a baby blue Mercedes, and D.C. police say the gunman left in it after the shooting. Anyone with information is asked to contact D.C. police. Well, an all-encompassing anti-crime bill in the district passes its first hurdle. That bill now heads to the full council after a public safety committee unanimously approved it. Legislation combines dozens of previous safety proposals into one bill. It includes tougher penalties for shoplifting and some gun-related crimes, and it also gives police more freedom on how they can physically handle suspects during car chases. Ward 2 Council member Brooke Pinto introduced the bill covering multiple topics. Mayor Muriel Bowser indicated that she would sign it if it gets to her desk. And D.C. residents will weigh in on the future of RFK Stadium. Once the home of the Washington football team, the site has sat vacant for years, hosting an occasional concert from time to time. And DC News Now's Candace Cole has more.
Neighbors living near RFK Stadium are set to hold a community meeting tonight with D.C. Council Chair Phil Mendelson to discuss the possible future for the stadium. The results from a survey held back in October has found that 67% of people do not want a new stadium here at the RFK site. Instead, most respondents say they'd like to see a park or sports and recreation complex. Over 2,000 residents spanning 8 neighborhoods responded to that survey. D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser has been pushing for a new stadium for the Commanders here, as well as new housing and retail units. Last September, the House Oversight Committee advanced a bill that would give the district full control over RFK Stadium. Some of the key concerns among residents include quality of life for those living here, citing headaches like wall-to-wall traffic, excessive noise, and public drunkenness following events at the stadium as top concerns. Residents also want to know how a redevelopment project at RFK will be funded when the city claims there's not enough money in its coffers to fund pressing needs for district residents.
I don't want a stadium, like I don't want a football team there. Maybe some storefronts, something to, provide the community around here with some things to do, some activities, some places to go.
That community meeting is set to take place at 7 o'clock tonight at St. Benedict the Moore Church in Northeast. Reporting from RFK Stadium, Candace Cole, D.C. News Now.